Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cozy English Corner, where learning English is easy, cozy, and fun. I'm Mia.
And I'm Jack. We're really happy you're here with us today. Whether you're relaxing at home, taking a walk, or enjoying a cup of coffee, we're glad you're spending this time with us.
Jack, can I ask you something?
That depends. Should I be worried?
Maybe just a little. What's the most expensive cup of coffee you've ever bought?
Probably the one that wasn't even supposed to be mine.
Wait, what do you mean?
A few weeks ago, I stopped at a new cafe before work. It looked really nice. Warm lights, fresh pastries, the smell of coffee. Honestly, it was impossible not to go inside.
That already sounds like the kind of place I'd love.
Me too. I walked up to the counter and ordered my usual latte. Everything was going perfectly. Then the barista smiled and asked me a question.
What did she ask?
That's the problem. I wasn't completely sure. I understood some of the words, but not all of them.
So you asked her to repeat it?
I smiled and confidently said yes.
Jack?
I know. A few seconds later, she asked me something else. Again, I wasn't 100% sure, and I said yes.
Please don't tell me you kept doing that.
Let's just say I was trying very hard to look confident.
How did that work out?
A few minutes later, she called my name. I picked up my drink, looked at the receipt, and realized I'd made a very expensive mistake.
Now I'm really curious. What happened?
I'll tell you, but not just yet. You know, I think almost every English learner has had a moment like this. Maybe it wasn't in a cafe. Maybe it happened while traveling, shopping, or talking to someone new. Sometimes we understand most of the conversation, but not quite enough.
Exactly. And that's what inspired today's episode. We're talking all about coffee culture, ordering coffee, visiting cafes, useful everyday expressions, and those funny little moments that can happen when English doesn't go exactly as planned.
And by the end of today's conversation, you'll know exactly what happened in that cafe, and you'll feel much more confident the next time you order coffee in English.
So, let's grab a coffee and get started. Before you tell us what happened with that coffee, I have another question. Do you actually drink coffee every day?
Pretty much. I usually have 1 cup in the morning, sometimes 2 if it's a busy day. What about you?
I drink coffee too, but not because I need it. I just enjoy the whole experience. Grinding the beans, listening to the kettle, sitting quietly for a few minutes before the day begins.
See, that's where we're different. For me, coffee is practical. I make it, I drink it, then I get on with my day.
Really? You've never just sat in a cafe with no plans? No laptop, no phone, just a cup of coffee.
Honestly, not very often. If I'm in a cafe, I'm usually meeting someone or working. I always feel like I should be doing something.
I think cafes are one of my favorite places to slow down. Sometimes I take a book. Sometimes I simply watch people. It's amazing how every cafe has its own atmosphere.
That's true. Some places are really quiet. Other cafes are full of conversations. You hear people talking, working. It almost feels like the cafe has its own personality.
Exactly. And somehow, coffee tastes different depending on the place.
I'm not sure I believe that. Coffee is coffee.
No, it isn't. A coffee on a rainy afternoon feels different from a coffee you drink while rushing to work.
Maybe that's because you're enjoying the moment. I'm usually checking the time.
See? That's why your coffee always disappears in 5 minutes.
Guilty. Although I have to admit, every now and then I find a cafe where I don't want to leave. Comfortable chairs, soft music, friendly baristas. Those places make you want to stay a little longer.
I think that's the magic of a really good cafe. It's not only about the coffee, it's about how the place makes you feel.
Speaking of cafes, what makes one cafe unforgettable while another feels completely ordinary? I think everyone has a different answer.
So, what makes you want to come back to the same cafe?
That's easy. Good coffee, friendly staff, and comfortable chairs. If the chair isn't comfortable, I'm probably not staying very long.
You sound very practical.
I am. What about you?
For me, it's the atmosphere. I love cafes with warm lights, wooden tables, and quiet music. The kind of place where nobody is in a hurry.
I knew you were going to say that.
Was it that obvious?
A little. I can already imagine you sitting by the window with a book.
You're not wrong, especially if it's raining outside. There's something so relaxing about watching people walk past with umbrellas while you're sitting inside with a hot drink.
See, I notice completely different things. I notice whether there's enough space, whether the Wi-Fi works, whether I can actually hear the person I'm talking to.
So, if we ever open a cafe together, we might have a small problem.
Or the perfect combination. You decorate it, I'll organize it.
Deal. Although there has to be one wall covered with books.
Of course. And you'll probably want plants everywhere too.
Definitely. Plants make every place feel more welcoming.
What about music?
Soft piano. Maybe some quiet jazz. Nothing too loud. People should be able to talk without raising their voices.
I agree with that. One thing I don't understand is cafes where the music is so loud that everyone has to shout. You're meeting a friend, not trying to win a singing competition.
Exactly. The best cafes almost disappear. You notice the conversation more than the room.
That's true. Some of my best conversations have happened over a cup of coffee. You sit down for 20 minutes, and somehow you're still talking 2 hours later.
I love those moments. You stop looking at the time. You forget about your phone. You're simply enjoying the company.
Speaking of good company, have you ever met someone interesting in a cafe? Not someone you already knew, a complete stranger.
Actually, yes. And it turned into one of the most unexpected conversations I've ever had.
Now you have to tell me, who did you meet?
It happened a few years ago. I was sitting in my favorite cafe with a book. It was one of those rainy afternoons when almost every table was taken. An elderly woman walked in and looked around. There wasn't a single empty seat except the one across from me. She smiled and asked, "Do you mind if I sit here?"
What did you say?
Of course I said yes. At first, we didn't talk very much. She ordered a cup of tea. I kept reading my book. It was quiet, but somehow it didn't feel awkward.
Sometimes silence can be comfortable.
Exactly. After a few minutes, she looked at the cover of my book and asked, "Is it good?" That one simple question turned into almost an hour of conversation. We talked about books, travel, family, even our favorite cafes.
That's amazing. Did you ever see her again?
A few times. Whenever we happened to be there on the same afternoon, we'd sit together and chat. It reminded me that some of the best conversations are completely unexpected.
I love stories like that. Mine are usually a little less elegant.
I am not surprised. Go on.
A few months ago, I walked into a cafe carrying my laptop, my backpack, and my phone. I somehow managed to open the door with my elbow. I felt very proud of myself.
I already know this won't end well.
It didn't. As I walked to my table, someone called my name. I turned around and knocked my coffee all over the floor. Not a single drop stayed in the cup.
Oh no, please tell me nobody saw that.
Everyone saw it. The entire cafe became silent for about 2 seconds. Then one of the baristas smiled and said, "Looks like Monday arrived early." Even I had to laugh.
That's actually a perfect response.
She brought me some paper towels. Another barista made me a fresh coffee. I offered to pay again, but they said, "Don't worry about it." I left a very generous tip that day.
Moments like that remind you how much a friendly attitude can change everything. If someone had looked annoyed, you probably would have felt embarrassed for the rest of the day.
Exactly. Instead, I walked out smiling. And I've gone back to that cafe many times since then.
It's funny, isn't it? Sometimes we remember a cafe because of the coffee. Sometimes we remember it because of the people.
And sometimes, one small conversation or one kind gesture is enough to make you come back again and again.
You know, we've already used quite a few expressions that people hear in cafes all the time.
Really? I wasn't even paying attention.
That's actually the best way to learn them. They appear naturally. For example, a few minutes ago you said, "Let's grab a coffee." I love that expression.
Me too. It doesn't always mean you're only going to drink coffee. Sometimes it's really an invitation to spend time together.
Exactly. If someone says, "Do you want to grab a coffee after work?" they usually mean, "Let's sit down and have a chat." It's often more about the conversation than the coffee itself.
Speaking of that, I don't think I've ever managed to grab a quick coffee with you.
Why not?
Because your quick coffee somehow turns into an hour.
I can't help it. I enjoy talking.
I noticed. Another expression I hear all the time is coffee break.
That's such a useful one. Whether you work in an office or study at university, everyone understands it. Sometimes you actually need the coffee. Sometimes you just need a short break.
Exactly. For me, a coffee break is really a chance to stand up, stretch my legs, and clear my head. The coffee is almost a bonus.
What about coffee to go? Do you usually order coffee to go?
Quite often, especially on busy mornings. Although, I think coffee tastes better when you drink it slowly in a cafe.
I agree. If I have enough time, I'd much rather stay for a while than rush out with a paper cup.
Here's another one. Regular order. Some people visit the same cafe so often that the barista already knows what they're going to order.
I've always wanted that to happen. Walking in, smiling, and hearing the usual?
That would make you feel like a local.
Definitely. And finally, I think we can both admit we're coffee lovers.
Absolutely. Although after my expensive coffee story, I'm a slightly more careful coffee lover now.
We'll come back to that story later. But first, I've always been curious about something. Coffee means different things in different countries, doesn't it? I've always thought coffee says a lot about a country. Not just the drink, but the way people enjoy it.
I agree. Some people drink coffee because they're in a hurry. Others treat it almost like a daily ritual.
Exactly. I've always wanted to visit Italy and sit in one of those little cafes you see in photos. People standing at the counter, talking for a few minutes, then continuing with their day. It looks so simple.
I've heard the same thing. Apparently, many people drink their coffee quite quickly instead of sitting for an hour.
That surprised me. When I think about cafes, I imagine staying there for a long time. Reading, talking, watching people walk by.
That's probably closer to how many people enjoy cafes in the UK or North America. You often see people working on laptops or meeting friends. Sometimes they stay for hours.
Do you ever work in cafes?
Sometimes. If I'm working from home all week, it's nice to change my surroundings. A different place can make even ordinary work feel more interesting.
I'm the opposite. I usually leave my laptop at home. If I go to a cafe, I want a real break. No emails, no notifications, just coffee and conversation.
That actually sounds healthier. I usually tell myself I'll answer just one message. Then 20 minutes disappear.
I think we're all guilty of that.
One thing I really enjoy when I travel is trying local cafes. Even if the coffee isn't very different, the atmosphere usually is. You notice different music, different desserts, different ways people spend their time.
That's true. Sometimes the cafe becomes part of the culture. You learn more by sitting there for half an hour than by reading a travel guide.
Exactly. You hear the language. You watch how people greet each other. You notice whether they're rushing or taking their time.
And somehow, every place has its own rhythm. Some cafes are lively and full of conversation. Others are so quiet that people almost whisper. I honestly enjoy both. It just depends on the day.
Me too. Sometimes I want energy. Other times, I just want a comfortable chair, a good cup of coffee, and absolutely nothing on my schedule.
Speaking of personal preferences, I think we disagree on quite a few things.
Really? Like what?
Well, let's find out.
All right, let's see how different we really are. First question. A quiet little cafe or a busy one full of people?
A quiet one, without even thinking. I love places where you can actually hear yourself think. What about you?
It depends. If I'm meeting a friend, I like a cafe with a little energy.
Not too loud, just enough background noise to make the place feel alive.
See? I choose the little cafe on the side street every time. The one where the owner knows everyone's name.
That does sound nice. Although I'd probably miss the fresh pastries from the bigger cafes.
Fair point. Next question. Would you rather sit inside or outside?
Outside. As long as the weather is nice, there's something relaxing about drinking coffee in the fresh air.
I usually choose a seat by the window. Best of both worlds. You're warm inside, but you can still watch the world outside.
I knew you were going to say that. You always find the window seat.
Because it's the best seat.
Now here's a difficult one. Morning coffee or afternoon coffee?
Afternoon. Morning coffee helps me wake up. Afternoon coffee helps me slow down. Those are two very different feelings.
Interesting. I'd still choose the morning. Without it, my day never really starts.
Another question. Would you rather try something completely new or order the same drink every time?
The same drink. If I already know I like it, why take the risk?
You're so predictable.
Reliable. There's a difference.
I love trying seasonal drinks. Sometimes they're amazing. Sometimes they're disappointing. But at least they're interesting.
You're much more adventurous than I am.
Maybe. Although I still come back to a simple latte most of the time.
One last question. If you had an entire afternoon free, would you spend it alone in a cafe or with a good friend?
That's the hardest question yet. I enjoy both. Sometimes I need quiet time by myself. Other days, there's nothing better than losing track of time in a long conversation.
I think that's my answer too. The coffee is important, but the person sitting across from you usually matters even more.
Exactly. A great conversation can make an ordinary cup of coffee unforgettable. And speaking of unforgettable, we still haven't solved the mystery of your very expensive coffee.
You're right. I think it's finally time to tell everyone what really happened.
All right, Jack, you've kept us waiting long enough. What actually happened in that cafe?
I suppose it's time to confess. After we finished recording today's episode, I realized something. The barista hadn't been speaking too fast. She hadn't used difficult English either. I was simply too nervous to listen carefully.
I think that's something many learners can relate to. Sometimes it's not our English, it's our confidence.
Exactly. Anyway, after I ordered my latte, she smiled and asked, "Would you like an extra shot of espresso?" I only caught the words extra and espresso. For some reason, I thought she was asking if my order was correct, so I smiled and said, yes.
One confident yes.
Then she asked, "Would you like whipped cream?" Another confident yes.
Oh dear.
Then she asked, "Would you like caramel syrup?" At that point, I was committed, so I said yes again.
You really trusted your instincts.
My instincts were very expensive. When she finally handed me the drink, it looked more like a dessert than a coffee. There was whipped cream on top, caramel everywhere, an extra shot of espresso. It was enormous. Then I looked at the receipt. Let's just say it cost a lot more than the latte I'd planned to buy.
Did you enjoy it?
Honestly, I did. It was delicious. Just not what I'd intended to order.
That's actually a lovely ending. Nobody was upset, you discovered a new drink, and now you have a story to tell.
Exactly. Looking back, I should have said, "Sorry, could you repeat that?" Or, "I'm not sure I understood." There's nothing embarrassing about asking someone to repeat a question.
In fact, most people are happy to help. And asking one simple question is usually much easier than accidentally ordering half the menu.
That's definitely the lesson I learned. Now, whenever I walk into a cafe, I take a deep breath, listen carefully, and if I don't understand something, I simply ask. It makes the whole experience much more enjoyable.
And who knows? Maybe your next cup of coffee will cost exactly what you expected.
Let's hope so.
You know, I think today's conversation reminded me of something. Coffee isn't really the most important part. It's the moments that happen around it. The conversations, the laughter, the unexpected stories.
I couldn't agree more. A simple cup of coffee can become the highlight of your day, especially when you're sharing it with someone.
And if you're learning English, don't be afraid of making little mistakes. They often become your best stories later.
Exactly. You don't have to understand every single word. You don't have to speak perfectly. Just stay curious. Keep listening. Keep talking. And if you don't understand something, it's perfectly okay to ask.
Every conversation teaches you something new. Sometimes it's a new word. Sometimes it's a new expression. And sometimes it's simply a little more confidence.
We're really glad you spent this time with us today. Whether you were listening on your morning walk, relaxing at home, or enjoying your own cup of coffee, thanks for being here.
Now we'd love to hear from you. What's your favorite coffee? Or maybe you're a tea person instead. Let us know in the comments.
And have you ever had a funny misunderstanding in English? We'd love to read your stories.
If you enjoyed today's cozy conversation, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to Cozy English Corner for more relaxed English conversations every week.
Until next time, take care of yourself, keep learning, and don't forget to enjoy the little moments.
We'll see you in the next episode. Stay cozy.